so that in the coming ages he might display the immeasurable riches of his grace through his kindness to us in Christ Jesus. Ephesians 2:7.
Hey friends, welcome back. So continuing our series, Sit, Walk, Stand here, a journey through the book of Ephesians, and we are on chapter 2, verse 7. I hope to keep this one pretty short today, but a few things that need to kind of be explained about this text. We had talked on Resurrection Sunday, this past Sunday. I had shared about how God exercised or displayed his power in Christ by raising him from the dead and seating him at the right hand in the heavens. Yesterday we talked a little bit about how now we are presently seated with Christ in the heavens, which is amazing. And then continuing on verse 7 here, the rest of that sentence that we started yesterday says that in the coming ages he might display the immeasurable riches of his grace. So he displays the power of him as a God when he seats Jesus. He raises Jesus from the dead and seats Jesus next to him in heaven with all authority. And so that's how he displayed his power. And that was in the first resurrection of Christ. And then we, as his children, those who know him, are waiting for the second resurrection of ourselves to be resurrected with him after death, where we will have incorruptible bodies, no sin, no sickness will be able to penetrate those new bodies. They'll be glorified bodies. So we're waiting that resurrection to be with Christ. And that won't display God's power, but that will display his grace, that he was able to raise us from the dead, take these spiritually dead people, raise them to new life, resurrect them, even their fallen bodies, to a glorified state with Jesus. So he rose Jesus from the dead. That displayed his power. He's going to raise us from the dead. He's going to resurrect us into glorified bodies that will display his grace. So you got that? You see, Jesus Christ raised from the dead displays God's power. Us raised from the dead displays God's grace because of how undeserving we are. But because of his immeasurable riches, so much grace that we can't even count them, more numerous than the stars in the sky, he will display his kindness to us in Christ by taking us from the graveyard and not just leaving us there. Now, he doesn't just resurrect us to life and then leave us in the graveyard, but he actually then seats us with Christ in the heavens. We have that reality now as a down payment, but we will experience it in its fullness in an age to come. So on Easter Sunday, we talked about how Jesus is the ruler of not just this age, but the one to come as well. And that one to come, we will actually reign with him. If you know him, if you trust him, in these coming ages, you'll see that display of God's grace. So when I think of display, sometimes a helpful illustration or analogy is the idea of a painting, right? People like artwork. We might see those kinds of things, and we might go to like an art exhibit and see a painting and marvel at how beautiful, how amazing it is. Similarly, we are a display of God's mercy, his grace. Those of us who know Christ, we are a display of that. That's what our text tells us. But it doesn't talk to how great we are, but to how great our artist is, that he's displaying that grace, that kindness through us. And it doesn't say anything about how awesome we are, but how awesome the one that made us is. When you see a portrait, before they had cameras, when they would make portraits of famous or important people, because they were very expensive back then, when people would look at them, it might be awesome to think, oh, that's a very important person because they were able to afford to get their portrait painted. But the reality is it speaks to a greater thing. The artist that made it is a really excellent artist, right? The more expensive the painting, the better the artist is. And we are a testament to God as the greatest artist of all time, and that he can take dead things and bring them to life is really an amazing thing. That's the display of his kindness, his grace to us in Jesus Christ. If you know him, if you trust him, you get to experience that and be part of his workmanship, part of his artwork. And then he uses us to display his power to others, his kindness to others, so that they may experience that same life-changing interaction, life-changing relationship, and encounter him. That's all I have for you today. Try to keep it short. All right, see you. I think I'm going to skip tomorrow, Saturday, take a Sabbath with my family, and then I'll meet you, see you again digitally on Sunday. Have a good day.